Afternoon, David.
Afternoon, Dave. How you doing?
Not bad yourself.
I'm all right. I'm better for what we did this morning, but because I'm not moving about at all, I'm putting the beef on, and we're looking at ways of dealing with that. But I'm just I hope skipping that step away from getting my barriers put outside, my banisters put outside, and you'll hear the Great Escape music as I disappear out the front door.
Good. Glad you're making good progress. Right, that's Facebook sorted out. And now, folks, we're a wee bit different today. We're only going to talk about three things. There are major issues at the moment, but we're only going to talk about three things. But we'll get to that. I see the first of the Facebookers in. Numbers are climbing nicely. Well, we'll give you a wee minute. We'll give you a wee minute, David.
I was going to check out the YouTube, see what they're up to on their own.
Well, obviously I can see both sets of comments. Hi, Stephen. Well, there on Facebook. Hi, wee bub. Hi, Tina.
I was going to check out
I guess you found it.
Yeah.
Afternoon, Neil.
89 so far.
I've got 91, so we'll get a couple on Facebook.
Yeah.
Anyway, David, we're only going to talk about a few things a day. First one we're going to talk about, I think we'll punctuate it with a newspaper headline which rattled my cage this morning. Shall we? So,
go on then. Not nice, but carry on.
Oh, I don't. Now, people who watched my programme this morning will have seen this front page in the Daily Record today, and it says 1 in 5 are it says 1 in 5 Scots, 1 million Scots living in poverty. You know, and the reason why this one rattled my chain was because this was the rag that sold us Stein in the Union because of the Union's broad shoulders. This is the rag that convinced people who were about to vote yes to vote no and give the Union a second chance.
Yeah.
You know, and then we have the rag where an absolute billionaire headline like that, and of course they're blaming it straight in the Scottish Government, of course.
Yeah. How can it be the Scottish Government? How can it possibly be the Scottish Government that are responsible for that? That comes right down the hill from Westminster. Westminster are in control of our finances and everything that goes with that. And so therefore, the fact that we've got people living in poverty, that falls right at Westminster's doorstep. The Scottish Government have been doing everything they can to try and keep people above, or their lips above the water.
Yep.
Especially children, with the special payment to children that are living in poverty. So how can you argue with what the Scottish Government are doing as opposed to Westminster that are doing nothing?
Well, as I say, this comes in the back of the release of the Poverty and Income Inequalities report. Okay, so I'll stick up the headline for that report. Okay, poverty, income and inequality. Share. Right, now, key trends. Now, child poverty since devolution, 97, to now, has dropped by 32% to 24%. Working age poverty has actually increased from 18% in 97 to 21% in 2023, 20 to 2023, and pensioner poverty has more than halved in the period since devolution began basically 97 to 2023. Now, 24% of children were living in relative poverty after housing costs between 2020 and 2023. Child poverty is broadly stable following a gradual rise in recent years. So it's been going up as the Scottish budget has been getting cut, as you know. Now, income inequality is a wee bit different. 21% of working age adults were living in relative poverty after household costs between 2020 and 2023. Working age poverty is slightly higher than in recent years. They say pensioner poverty. This is relative poverty figures, David. Right?
Yeah, but the thing is, you've got to figure in with that. Every single person, I'm talking children, men, women, all ages, right? Every one of them have something to do with an electricity bill. They either use it or they pay for it.
Well,
right?
Say, David, the last one there, the pension and poverty. 15% of pensioners were living in relative poverty after household costs between 2020 and 2023. Pensioner poverty has also been stable in recent years. 15% is no good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these figures are fucking shocking.
Yeah.
But they're not a direct reflection on the Scottish government. They're a direct reflection
on
the UK.
But they cannot possibly be anything to do with the Scottish government. Scottish government have got no control over electricity or gas prices. Come on, have they? Yeah.
No. But as I say, you know, we have the unions all screaming about these figures, but the unions are the ones that told us that these figures, you know, these figures are good for the unions. I mean, if we look at England as a whole, the North East 1 and 3 in poverty, to the big cities, sort of Manchester, Liverpool, Doon 1 and 4.
Yeah.
If we look at Wales 1 and 4, and if we look at Northern Ireland 1 and 4.
No, just in case you aren't thinking about numbers yet, 1 and 4 is worse than 1 and 5 for Scotland, right?
Yes.
Scotland doing bloody well.
Yeah, basically, one person more one person less in poverty in Scotland than there is elsewhere per capita.
Right.
But these figures are atrocious, and as I say, we have got the unions sitting along that road in Holyrood blaming the SNP government. You know, but as I said this morning, people get what they voted for. We didn't tell them. We tell them this is how it would be. It'd get worse. We told them Brexit was coming. We told them Boris Johnson was coming. They just, you know, we were called fearmongers and harvesters of doom. But
no, we'll talk more about that later on.
Aye.
Harbingers. Harbingers.
Oh, very good. You been deaf or something?
No, you said harvesters.
I did have harbingers of doom. Oh, well. It didn't even occur to me that I said something else. Thank you for pointing that out. As I say, but these figures are not good. But to see it splashed across the rag that tell us we would be better together. To hear the politicians who told us we would be better together tell us that this is better. This is better.
Yeah.
You know, Stephen Kelly, you can't fix stupid. No, but they tell me gaffer tape's good at muffling it. But, you know, it's just outrageous. Absolutely outrageous to hear this crap come from unionist politicians. You know, and then we'll get unions all screaming, 1 in 5 in poverty, 1 in 5. You fucking voted for it. This is your option when you were voting. Worried about your wallet. Worried about your mortgage. I bet your fucking house has been repossessed now.
Yeah.
You know, but the only thing that's not happened yet, which will happen, that we predicted in 2014 would happen, is the NHS hasn't been privatised yet, but it will be.
Well, I'm looking at that myself, and I'm really, really hoping that we can hold that back for as long as possible. I mean, Mr. Streeting keeps on pushing the door. Lots of people holding that door back.
Aye. As I say, but to have the unions sitting in the Scottish Parliament berating the Scottish Government for having the best poverty figures in the whole of the United Kingdom, for having the best public services in the whole of the United Kingdom, while battling against the United Kingdom with one fucking tie behind his back. People go to realise how good an administration that is along that road.
Who is it mentioned that today? In one of the was it Herald? The Herald article. Was it the
Joseph Rowntree Foundation?
Joseph Rowntree Foundation, yes.
Joseph Rowntree Foundation, in its report on the poverty and income inequality figures, what they have done is they've had a look and said that neither government's using the powers that they have properly to alleviate poverty, but they do recognise that the Scottish Government is trying and that the situation is better in Scotland than it is in the rest of the UK. But holding stable at 1 in 5 in poverty is no good enough.
Yeah.
Knowing that 21% of the working population are actually in jobs and in poverty is no fucking good enough.
Yep.
Wow. It's just no good enough.
The only difference that can be made is independence.
It's the only way to have economic choices for the one.
Independence. Each time we bring up these particular subjects, you find that what's the answer? The answer is independence.
Right. Oh, easy, Tiger. Easy. You're right, of course, David, but we can't build a new economic model without moving away from the situation we find ourselves in. You're absolutely correct. Because
the only way to gain the change that's required to where we are then using the money that we fritter away down south to the Treasury and start Scotland using that money itself is through independence.
Aye, David, we're not arguing that. What I'm saying is, in order to move away from the failed neoliberal politics for the last 50 years, independence is the route. Aye.
Yeah.
But could it be done differently for Westminster? No. No, after 50 years of the same field economics, one government after economic policy, one government after another.
But Brexit, more pointedly, they cannot get back into Europe. They might, in the future, find a way of working with Europe, but not to the extent that they were, where they had 27 partners.
Let's say, and according to Wake Up and Smell the Rosemary, we live in a uniparty state and a neoliberal oligarchy. Well, that's a fair description. But the only way to move away from this neoliberal politics that have been a car crash for the last 54 years.
Yeah.
Is to actually break away from that mob down the road. Because if we watch progressive governments with Thatcher all the way through continue doing the same neoliberal path, then we have watched the state disintegrate.
Yeah.
And the only way we break away from those stupid policies and start investing, because the only way to have a successful economy is to have a happy, healthy, well-educated population. Because they will be productive.
The population have to be engaged, David. At the moment, we live in a duopoly, and that means that either the people within the nation, within the United Kingdom, are going to vote either Conservative or Labour.
But as we've just pointed out, for the last 54 years, there has been no difference.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
You know, they've all followed the same neoliberal politics, and the only way to get out of that is to start again. It's to start again.
How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
Say independence as many times as you want, but could it be done at Westminster? Because we do have English viewers.
Yeah.
Could it be done at Westminster? Of course it could.
The reason I keep on mentioning Scottish independence is because England rely on Scotland for so much.
Everybody watching this programme knows that.
Yeah, our balance of payments. I talk about it all the time.
Knows that, I know, David, and you're right.
We're an exporting nation. England are an importing nation. That needs to change.
Everybody here knows that, I know.
Yeah.
The point you're making is correct. The point I'm making is totally different. They could move away from neoliberal politics down that road, but they don't show any intention of doing that.
Yeah, correct.
So that's the point I was making. Could it be done in England? Of course it could.
Yeah, if everything changed, yes.
Well, you know, the question isn't, I mean, will it, is the question. Of course not. I mean, every time we get a new government, there is a chance to change direction.
Yeah.
Since Margaret Thatcher, none have chosen to change direction. None. Progressive governments, all the way through, have stuck to this free marketeering, a neoliberal economics. Right, let's move on. The other big story of the weekend, which has taken up everything, is Sue Gray resigning as a Keir Starmer's chief of staff. Now, Sue Gray is an interesting character, David. She came to the public consciousness in chaos during the Boris Johnson and Partygate fiasco, and of course his breaking the ministerial code fiasco. And then she was headhunted by Labour to be Starmer's chief of staff. And now, according to the press, Starmer is shuffling her off into a new job because she's crap at the job that he handpicked her for. What do you make of it?
Well, what do I make of it? I find it strange that Labour are headhunting someone that was in the Tory camp for so long.
Wasn't in anybody's camp, she was a civil servant.
Ah, come on. Everybody, you're trying to say to me that because they're a civil servant, they don't have any politics. Of course they do.
Well, she was speculated to be leaning Tory in her politics until we had inquiries into Partygate and things like that.
Yeah. Well.
And then, of course, I mean, and you're asking if Labour were going to recruit a Tory. Aye, of course they would. They're fucking Tories.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I find it ironic, you know.
Aye, it is ironic. But anyway, so apparently this woman, Sue Gray, who had an impeccable reputation as a civil servant, was held up as the marker on impartiality of the civil service during the Boris Johnson inquiries.
Yeah.
Headhunted by Labour, this senior civil servant, and to be Starmer. By the way, this is how sure Labour were they were going to win. This was before the general election, to be Starmer's chief of staff and to run his Westminster operation. And as we know, his number 10 operation has been a fucking disaster. It's been one PR fail after another, especially when it comes to things like the scandalous gifts, you know, cash for access, jobs for the boys. I mean, so it's been fucking, it's been a disaster. The first 100 days have been an absolute disaster. So she's been shuffled off, but it's interesting, David, her new job is the Prime Minister's envoy, brand new title, for the regions and nations.
Mhm.
And her job basically is to run what the Conservatives under the Tory government called the Union Office. And her job will be to have a look at devolution and to make sure that the Union stays together.
Well, so someone that's in that position, let's look at that for a second, right? If someone gets shuffled off of a major position that she was in,
Yeah.
right, and she gets shuffled off to something that could be something, could be good personally, or could be bad, right? So what they'll do is they will try hard to impress those in power regarding keeping the union together, right?
Well, see, what's interesting about a job title is the regions come before the nations.
Yes, well,
You'd expect that to be the nations and regions.
yes. The nations obviously being Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and England.
Oh no, yeah, no England in that. That's the regions.
Yeah.
We have the regions of England, which are much more important than the devolved nations and partners and the Union.
And what's the answer to
When you fucking start,
that?
but as I say, it's interesting that she rose in chaos into public consciousness, and she
Yeah.
is leaving the public
Well,
consciousness in
no,
chaos.
the reason why I say she was so much Tory is because the Tories they fell over backwards singing her praises
Yes,
when she was hanging on to the Boris Johnson inquiry notes,
aye,
right? And they said, "Oh, she'll tell the truth. She'll bring it on through and all the rest of it, right? If there's anything to answer for, that she'll be the girl." Yet again, we've got a situation whereby people should have gone to jail, right? And they were taken through a public inquiry. If you want to call it a political inquiry, that's what we'll call them from now on. We don't call them a public inquiry. Let's call them a political inquiry.
oh, they want me to address
Now,
it.
political inquiry never ever ends up with anybody going to jail.
Tina, there's nothing I can do about Facebook while I'm sat here in the studio. Because technically I'm neither on YouTube or Facebook at this point in time. I'm on Restream, so I can't do nothing about the comment section in the Facebook stream. Sorry. Thanks, Liz. Thanks very much.
Oh yeah, Liz Shields, £20.
Thank you very much. Now, I'll try and catch that up. Take it back down again. Take that one down and up. Right, so where were we? Sue Gray. So she's been moved out. And as you say, David, she will probably work hard to try and keep the regions and nations happy.
Yes.
We'll see how she gets on. We'll see how she cooperates with the Scottish Government.
No, not will keep the regions and nations happy. She will keep them together. Different matter.
She's going to be the overseer for all the Governor Generals.
Yes.
Aye. So, Ian Murray is going to have to report to her.
Yeah, you look at that Pratt. It's that long ago. I've forgotten his bloody name now, right? Who brought the Section 35 and all that sort of thing, right? Alistair Jack. That was the idiot's name, right? He was playing that part of Governor General. Sue Gray could do exactly the same. She'd do exactly the same.
Well, my question was, because she was becoming his envoy for the regions and nations, does that mean the mayors of the regions report to her? Does that mean the First Ministers of the nations report to her and the Secretary of States for these different nations for the Westminster report to her? That's the question I'm asking, you know.
Yeah.
You know, what is this role that she's been given at £170,000 a year, part-time, apparently? You know.
Yeah.
But there is more to the Sue Gray story that meets the eye, because now her son's a Labour MP. And apparently Wahid Ali's in the mix there somewhere as well.
Yeah.
But I say, just go, now, what does this tell us? And Kimmy Badenoch's in the Daily Field today said, this shows Starmer's bad judgment. Now, I don't care what Badenoch's going to say, but it does show the man's bad judgment. After all, he headhunted this woman to be his chief of staff, and she's failed within the first 100 days. It does show.
But the most important thing is, what has she failed?
Well, apparently there's been discontent in the number 10 operation, and she was the chief of staff.
Right. I would say that the chief of staff is not the one that should fall on their sword. It should be the boss of number 10 that falls on their sword, and that is Starmer.
We're talking about his judgment here, so aye.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, she's being blamed for because she was his chief advisor as well as head of staff. She's being blamed for the absolute shambles that number 10's operation has been, especially in handling things like the clothes saga, the jobs for the boys saga, the carry on with the health minister in West Streeton having people with no official clearance at meetings. That sort of thing.
Hang on, you could have the best manager in the world, right? Sat in that position, and then all this stuff comes through the door. There's all the jobs for the boys, the cash for questions, all the wardrobe stuff, the money that's coming through, all this stuff, right? It'd be too much for any manager to take. In fact, a good manager would actually say to to his or her boss, sorry, I can't do this.
Well, you know, Simon Case resigned and all, and apparently there was a battle going on between the two of them on how to properly run the number 10 office or operation. You know, and of course, we know that Simon Case, he was suffering from bad health. He's got a cancer scare. So, I mean, him saying he's slowing and doing for health reasons is viable. But, as I say, apparently him, the chief civil servant and the chief of staff were having the right barney with each other and all. So, Starmer's moved her off, as I say, to the side. She's taken a cut of £16,000 a year, but she's moved to a part-time job. Struthers, thanks very much. A wee bit for the food.
Thank you, Struthers.
Thank you very much.
I saw that coming up my feed there. Just doesn't want to button what David was saying.
But so as I say, does it really show bad judgment on his behalf when the Labour Party actually went to headhunt this woman to be the chief of staff before he'd been elected?
Yeah, I know. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it was all round Starmer bad judgment.
Electing him was bad judgment, never mind anything else, the Labour leader.
Yeah.
Now, of course, David, we're half an hour in, and the final subject we're going to cover today is the 7th of October, and it marks the first anniversary of the people of Gaza, their administration and their military, Hamas, breaking out of Israel, breaking out of Gaza, and striking against their oppressors. Now, that's one way of putting it.
David, hold on a second. let's have a wee bit of a timeline.
Okay.
Right, first off,
Hold on, David. No, there's a
Yeah.
question to be asked here first before we start this timeline and this clock ticking. And that is, did Netanyahu set this whole series of events off deliberately?
Yes.
I think we'll remind people why we a nice set of pictures. What do you think?
Yeah, go for it.
Aye, I think I will. There you go, folks. You want to know what started this whole thing off, this time round? Because remember, this has been ongoing for since 1948. But you want to know what started off this time round? This is Benjamin Netanyahu in the United Nations showing a map of Greater Israel and the new Middle East. And which started off what's happening just now? That map. Because in that map, there is no Palestine.
There's no Gaza, there's no West Bank, there's nothing.
And even part of southern Lebanon's on that map as being Greater Israel. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, of course, next thing in that time...
So also, we've got a situation whereby Hamas threatened they were going to do this a year before.
That's because Hamas had known about this a year before.
That's right. And the Israeli government did not even bother their shots about it whatsoever. Right?
Well, we do know next thing in that timeline, because that was a couple of weeks before October 7th, that Netanyahu is in the UN with that map. Fast forward a wee bit, and Egypt gives them the heads up that something's about to happen from Gaza and from Hamas.
Yep.
So you would expect the Israelis to fortify the border, wouldn't you? Or the wire, the prison walls. But as we found out on the day, they'd done no such thing. They'd actually withdrawn. Yep. Everybody. And for some reason, a wire system, which was that sensitive, could feel a cat farting 2 feet off it, didn't they pick up thousands of people coming through?
That's right.
Thanks, Arthur. No.
And the place that they went through, thank you, Alita, the place that they went through to, the place where the so-called massacre took place in the town and the kibbutz, was less than 20 minutes away from Israel, one of Israel's biggest air bases, right? So we'll continue on from that.
So now, when you add these wee things together, something doesn't sit right. Yeah, and then, of course, on that day itself, when Israel, they eventually, a couple of years after this incursion, they eventually scrambled. They put helicopters.
David, last night on the Reuters News, I watched the 7th of October replayed, right? And they reckoned that the Israeli IDF did not scramble until 12 hours after.
Wow.
If you look at other ones, they say it's 7 hours. But on Reuters, Reuters are a fantastic firm as far as this is concerned, they say 12.
Outlet. Aye.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, whether it's 7, 12, or even 2, doesn't matter. But what we do know is when they scrambled, they decided that nobody was getting back into Gaza. So they just shot anything that moved. And that included hundreds of kids at a music festival.
Maybe the most important thing is the kibbutz, where they showed you the damage to the houses, right? The kind of damage that was done, you couldn't do with a knife, you couldn't do with a machine gun, you couldn't even do with a grenade. What they were pointing out was tank rounds that had been used. Do Hamas have any tanks? No, of course they don't.
you get some pretty big anti-tank weapons, which did that sort of damage, David. But that's neither here nor there.
But these were tank rounds. These were tank rounds.
Now, the next thing in our timeline was the demonisation of the Palestinian people, the dehumanisation of them. Now, we had stories that were not true, like babies having their head chopped off and being raped.
That's right.
You know, nobody's ever had any evidence of such things. And we've had ongoing lies about the United Nations and the Palestinians to keep the dehumanisation of the Palestinian people in the forefront. But of course, what we've known since then was none of us at that point in time could reckon on Netanyahu and his response.
Yeah.
But when we think back to that map in the UN, well, maybe we should have expected his response, because there was no Gaza there. There was no West Bank there. No. So we then have a situation where we have our governments actually defending, and our Western media defending war crimes.
Yeah.
And it starts immediately with the cutting off of electricity and water and laying siege to Gaza.
And Starmer was asked, did he agree with that? And he said, yes, I do.
Yep, the opposition
and
leader.
that was a huge thing as opposition leader, because it was shown on TV. It was actually shown on TV. Most of all, it was shown in social media, because it was LBC the interview took place in. Yeah?
Aye. Now, so we have the dehumanisation of the Palestinian people, and then we move on to watch the destruction of the Gazan society and one city and one piece of infrastructure at a time, live in front of our eyes, live war crimes being televised and being justified by our Western media. I watched these hospitals and schools being destroyed in real time.
What disgusted me was, like Sky would show you a crowd of people on their deck chairs in the distance, in West Bank and areas that they had actually taken as settlers, thieves, you might call them, right? Sitting on the deck chairs, watching on night time all the weapons being fired into Gaza.
Aye,
they're all laughing and joking. I was disgusted with that.
Having a glass of wine and a barbecue and things like that. Yep.
Yeah.
But, as I say, we then watch the infrastructure being destroyed.
Yeah.
And we're now at a point where the situation in Gaza is they're only getting 50% of the aid they need, and the place is still under siege. There is no medical infrastructure at all. So pestilence is taking more people than warfare now.
Yeah.
And the people are starving to death, and yet we still have our media defending this monstrous regime.
Yeah.
Who, as the world turned its back on Israel, and as the boycott movement against Israel got stronger, and the Israeli economy started to collapse, we've seen certain Western nations prop Israel up. And otherwise this would be done by now. And then, of course, we look at Germany, US, and the UK specifically. They are more or less keeping Israel afloat and keeping this thing going at this point in time. Now, as Netanyahu widens this out, and the conflict gets wider, because, folks, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was a massive development last Tuesday. After Iran struck on I think it was Monday night or Sunday night, on the Tuesday, Israel bombarded Lebanon and they bombarded Syria. And in the bombardment of Syria, they struck a Russian airbase. And that sort of pissed the air off. So Putin now tells Russian Jews in Israel to get out. And of course, everybody's telling their citizens to get out of Lebanon. including Putin. Now, I dare say Putin doesn't want to get involved here. But we know that
in no way do I think that he wants to actually send a part of the Russian army down the road to fight the Israelis. He doesn't want to get involved that far.
No. But I don't think he wants to get involved at all. But I mean, after all, Iran's an ally and they're supplying Russia with a lot of weapons at this point in time, which Russia needs.
Yeah.
But I don't think Russia wants to get involved. I generally don't. But what I do think is that Netanyahu wants to pull the Yanks in.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. The Netanyahu has to keep this war. They call it a war. There wasn't a war to begin with against the Gaza people, right? But they call it a war now because what they've done is they've gone into Lebanon and they're getting to the point where they're actually wandering all around Lebanon and causing damage. And then when you talk about firing the F-35s they've got, missiles from F-35s into Syria, it's a war now.
Well, anyway, Netanyahu is trying to widen this out. Now, this, of course, brings us to Iran's retaliation for a Israel strike on its embassy in Beirut.
Yeah.
We then have Sir Keir Starmer tell us that he will put the whole might of the UK state square behind Israel. Now, we just spoke about this, David. A lot of people are not pleased with that because, let's face it, he hasn't asked for a vote in Parliament on this. But more importantly, opinion polls show that we're divided on this one. You know,
I wouldn't say divided. I wouldn't say divided evenly. I would say that the majority of people looking at the situation that's happened with the West Bank and Gaza, the majority of people in Great Britain believe that Israel are bad. End of.
Well, anyway, that brings us to an important part here, and that is that we've got to distinguish here between certain Israelis and the Jewish people as well. And that is, we have to recognise that what we've got in charge of Israel right now is the Zionist section or cult within the Jewish religion.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what's interesting about Keir Starmer is that he is a Zionist.
Yes.
Now,
self-confessed Zionist.
Yep. So, but what's interesting, David, is the Zionist cult itself. And you and I were discussing this off stage, and it sounds a wee bit wacky. But actually, you know, the Zionists believe that they have to be at a certain place at the end. When the apocalypse comes, they have to be in Zion. Right? Anyway. And, of course, the way they measure the end of time coming is by the four horsemen of the apocalypse, as you said, David. Right?
Yeah.
And recently we've had plenty of war, we've had famine, and we've had pestilence, and death is everywhere. But specifically, all four of these things apply in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
Is that Zion?
But he's looking, Netanyahu is looking to widen that. He's looking to actually have the thing go massive, right? Now, do I think it's going to cause a third world war? Nah, I don't, right? Because at the end of the day, the Americans, we're only talking about a few weeks away from the American presidential election, right?
Uh-huh.
And if Kamala Harris gets in, which it looks like she will do, is she going to be ready to take us to DEFCON 1, the DAF one, right? No, she won't. She won't.
That depends. Is she a Zionist?
I believe that she accepts money from them, but I don't know if she is an actual Zionist when it comes to it. Believe that Genocide Joe is, without doubt.
Well, anyway, as I say, the way the Zionist cult measure the end coming is by war, by famine, by pestilence, and by death. And we've had all of them recently.
Yeah.
Especially in Gaza itself. And the Zionists believe they're going to be in a certain place. Is the end nigh? And they believe it's nigh or something like that, do they? Is that why? Is this why Netanyahu's acting like a loon ball? There's going to be some reason behind it, David.
Well, as you and I had this conversation, I told you that there was 5,000 predictions in the New Testament, right?
Right.
And talking a few years ago, somebody in Yarm High Street who was into such a thing, he reckoned there was only about 10 or 15 predictions left in the end of days.
Well, maybe that's what these nut jobs, these religious nutters are all basing it on. But David, of course, I'm not going to blast anybody's faith. I'm not a man of faith myself. If people want to believe the end is nigh, and these are the conditions which mark the end of nigh, you can understand why these people might think that.
Yeah.
I
mean, when you read this stuff, it reads like nonsense. Yeah, you go in John's Revelation, the first horseman rides a white horse, carries a bow, and is given a crown as a figure of conquest. All this is figurative.
Aye.
When we talk about conquest and death and all the rest of it as being horsemen, we're talking about there being conquest of people, conquest of pestilence of people, all the rest of it, right? Okay. Perhaps invoking pestilence or the Antichrist. Pestilence is the Antichrist, right?
There you go.
The third, a food merchant, rides a black horse symbolizing famine and carries the scales. The fourth and final horse is pale. Upon it rides death. And you've got to look at it. It's all figurative. It's all figurative.
Oh, bloody nonsense to me, David.
Yeah. In no place are we talking about actually seeing 4 blooming horsemen on horses, right?
I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is the potential that the Zionist cult thinks the end's coming.
Yeah. The end time they talk about isn't an end time. It isn't where the whole world blows up. It's where actually God comes in and takes over. Right, give that a horse then, that's very good.
David, you don't watch, if you don't watch the early show, you'll not know about it. It was a star headline. The horse that led the Queen's funeral procession getting OBE for real.
Very good, very good. But don't think that you're talking about this sort of thing, or the Revelation is talking this sort of thing about being an end of the world. It's an end of the what our setup is, right? And the idea is that God comes in and takes over, right? Takes over what? Takes over the area that the Zionists have captured. They take over the area that Netanyahu and his bunch of nutters think that they are down is doing.
Well, anyway, that's a possibility. The other possibility is, of course, that Netanyahu's trying to keep his fucking skin out of the jail. Which is more likely.
Right.
His ego is going to drive us to the potential of a third world war rather than anything else. His need to keep his own hide out the folky.
Yeah. Exactly.
It was interesting to speculate on whether the Zionist cult believe that we're coming up to the end of time.
Well, I believe that they do believe that.
Well, maybe that will explain the nut job's behaviour.
Yes. But Netanyahu looks at it from another direction and sees it as an opportunity for him to stay out of jail.
Aye, as I say, you can speculate on the motives. I mean,
Yeah.
we being a Zionist, it's not completely a Zionist. Now, to get back to the point I was making is, in the papers today, David, it was we must stand with the Jewish people. Lauren, wow, you won the lottery. You have it today, won't have it tomorrow, may need it next week, but what's the heck? Listen, don't anybody leave themselves short.
Yes.
And if you need that next week, Lauren, you phone me up, I'll get you right back.
Yeah, please.
Hey, what do you call it? Whatever their motives is, it's gone too far.
Yeah.
But it had to be marked that we're a year on. Deaths direct a result of the conflict, 40,000 plus, mainly women and children.
Yeah.
Whatever's under the rubble, because we don't know. And of course, there's the excess deaths because there's no medical facilities left in Gaza. And of course, we now have the conflict widening across the Middle East. Yeah. So it was worth marking, and in April, I think it was April 24th, the Ukrainian conflict started. That'll be 3 years in. So we'll be having a chat about that on that particular day.
Well, by that time, remember it's November, we're having the American election, right? And America are driving the Ukraine-Russian thing for themselves, a lot of cases, right? NATO are America.
Well, NATO's under threat, as you know, because Turkey's talking about pulling out.
Yeah, fine, okay.
And as I say, what we do know is that the situation with Israel has got the whole world order shaken to its roots.
Oh,
it's got the UN shaken to its core because we've got five nations in that United Nations who have vetoed over everything. And when that General Assembly is condemning Israel and they put motions to the Security Council to curtail whatever it is Israel's doing, then either the UK, the US, and sometimes Russia even, or China, will veto it.
Mm.
So what's going on in the Middle East right now and what's going on between Russia and Ukraine is actually shaking the foundations of our world order, which came about after 1945.
Yeah.
We're seeing all the international norms being ripped up. Mm. It's an interesting time to be alive, David.
No, but that's an old Chinese proverb where may you live in interesting times. It's actually a curse rather than anything else. Living in interesting times means you've got to keep your head down.
Well, we still live in interesting times where you've got to keep your head down. No, me, I'm putting mine above the parapet. But and last paper, is it just me, or is this all linked to BRICS? Well, the rise of the BRICS is a threat to the world order.
Yep.
They're talking about pulling out the IMF. They're talking about pulling out the United Nations.
Yep.
They're talking about pulling out the World Trade Organization.
Yep.
Why? As I say, what's going on at this point in time is shaking the very foundations of what we have known since 45 onwards, or what's been created since 45 onwards.
Yeah.
I mean, international law has been shook to its core.
Yeah.
As we find that states like Israel seem to stand out with international law, and states like the UK and the US are willing to flout international law to keep helping Israel.
Yeah.
It is interesting times. But as I say, David, a year for the beginning of this particular genocide, because it's no conflict. Well, it's a conflict. It's a conflict now. It's been widened out.
Yeah, it has become a conflict because if you were to analogize the whole thing to the spread of Germany before the Second World War,
Aye.
then you're talking that that's what Israel are doing at the moment. They are putting into, they're building up the whole thing into a war, a mass conflagration.
Well, as I say, a world order definitely changing and volatile.
Yeah.
You're right, wake up and smell the rosemary. That's the whole point. That is the point as we get towards the end of this particular programme. That's why we devoted so much of the programme to it, because there is so much in flux at the moment.
Yeah.
Right across the planet, right across international boundaries and right across international treaties, everything's in flux right now.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely everything's in flux. And as I say, it would be an interesting time to live in if it wasn't for the fact that it's really hurting people. You know? And as the dynamics of our planet and the power dynamics of our planet change, we will see fucking death and destruction along the way.
Well, we've already seen death in Gaza.
Aye.
And that was a situation where lots and lots and lots of countries, actual leaders of countries, looked at us and thought, this is stupid, this is ridiculous. Did any of them do anything? No.
Aye, South Africa.
I saw South Africa taking legal action, but we didn't have a situation whereby a country's army went in to Israel and went, whoa, wait a minute, right? And put the guns on the IDF.
Well,
seriously, David, that did not happen, right?
As we go, there's a debate going on in Parliament right now, and they're still defending Israel's right to self-defence.
Yes.
When it comes to Gaza and West Bank,
now to say Israel has a right to defend itself, right? After it has been attacked by Iran and Hezbollah and Lebanon and all the rest of it, right? Then that suddenly comes true, right?
No, it doesn't, because
back at the start, when Israel has a right to defend itself, that went away within a couple of days when we saw the first 2,000 or 3,000 people killed in Gaza.
There is a wider conflict now, David, but at the same time, right through what's happening in the Middle East, Israel's no fucking right to defend itself. It is the instigator in each case.
Yeah, true.
And in the West Bank and Gaza, they certainly don't, because they're the occupying force. They're the colonisers.
Yeah, that's right.
But do you hear that in the Parliament today?
Yeah. Bad. Bad. Very bad.
Right. They say we've marked the year of slaughter and of the Palestinian people. We've recognised that the conflict is being widened, is being broadened out. But we're out of time, David.
Well, I hope we're not out of time as a species.
Well, maybe according to the Zionist cult, maybe we are.
Well, no, what they say is that they'll be the ones that's left. They are the chosen people. And seriously, you go into any Christian church, and I'm not talking about a Zionist Christian, I'm talking any Christian church, and you ask the Jews, are the Jews God's chosen people? Yes. Are the Zionists God's chosen people? No, not necessarily.
Aye, well, as I say, I think we've spoken enough about it. I hope the subjects that we covered today you enjoyed, folks. We were on them for specific reasons. And if we need to do a show where we talk about less subjects and we go along a timeline like what was happened with the 1 year of the genocide in Gaza, then we'll do it. It was good fun, David. It was good fun.
I hope it remains good fun.
Now, I've thought about our discussion on it has been good fun. The reality for the people on the ground is no good fun. But need to wrap up there, David. As you know, I start working in about 30 minutes. So,
Yep. Okay.
I want to thank everybody for your kind donation to the Food Bank Fund today. We want to thank the moderators for moderating the feeds.
Yes.
And Hugh, there will be an after show chat at 10 o'clock tonight if anybody wants to drop in. I'll be about at 10 o'clock on Discord and Mad Monk server. He'll drop a link into the comments after the video's shut down. So if you want to join us then and have a chat, then I'm always up for it. I'm after more, so I can sit up a wee bit longer and have a chat with you guys. So that's it, David.
Oh, super chat. No, super chat coming in.
What is it?
£10 from
it's not showing up here yet.
Struthers Brown.
Right, yeah, thanks.
£10. Thanks, Struthers.
Right, thanks. Anyway, to say, folks, if you like what we do, please share it across your social media. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And thanks for everything. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I just leave one thing left today, David. Say
bye, Davey. Bye, guys.